All right, let's chat a little bit about the Death Race remake franchise, starting with the 2008, was it? The Paul W.S. Anderson one. Yep, I got it, 2008. The first in a four-series remake franchise, the only one being directed by Paul W.S. Anderson, and the only one to have an actual theatrical release. The other two, three, and four being straight to DVD slash streaming with the fourth one and whatnot. This one, I remember. I don't exactly remember like watching it as soon as it came out. These kind of action movies never really, especially when I was younger, which is weird because when I was younger, these are the movies that I would avoid more, just for lack of interest. I was always really into horror. I really liked those. Loved comedies. Always really liked art house. But these like popcorn films kind of things, like guy movies. They were fine. It's not that I didn't enjoy them. It's just I wouldn't go out of my way to watch them. And kind of sucked because a lot of my friends, pretty much all of my friends, this is all they'd want to watch. And then I'd be stuck picking a movie like once every 6 months or something like that out of the group of my friends because they would all decide on something along these lines. But as I got older, I started to think back on movies like this, and I'm like, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't have missed those. You know, when you just forget about something that came out 15 years ago, and you're like, I just feel like watching it now for whatever reason. It's happened a few times with me with a few things. But, anyways, without rambling on too much, this movie's awesome. I love Statham in anything, he's a badass. The girl character, she plays Case. I should have looked up her name because she is gorgeous. I don't know why I didn't. But she is on the front cover. She plays Case in this film and is the main female, you could say, lead. Other than Hennison, who is not attractive in this movie at least. A total bitch. And I watched the unrated version, which, why wouldn't you watch the unrated version with something like this? And I love how, as usual, the unrated version, actually in this one it's not bad, it's 6 minutes longer. Usually it's like 30 seconds longer, and it's like, why bother? What the hell did you put in the movie that's 30 seconds that is going to be inappropriate for a theater release? But lo and behold, this was directed by Paul W.S. Anderson, director of Mortal Kombat and Resident Evil. Those are my two that I know the most. I know he did more, but I remember those most. We start with, of course, a death race, and this guy's being chased down by Tyrese Gibson's character, who is named Machine Gun Joe. And this guy in this metal mask is basically trying to get away from him, and you got this whole shootout. This was really known back in the day, especially when it came out, for being like the Twisted Metal of movies. I'm talking about the Twisted Metal franchise. And it's pretty much the same thing, other than in Twisted Metal, there wasn't really a race. It was just a battle of cars, and the one to defeat the other cars wins. And this one, they incorporate that with the guns and machine gun cars and flamethrower cars and all that cool stuff, with a race, with an actual race with the finish line. And this guy in the mask is being chased down until he is blown up by Machine Gun Joe, and then credits roll. And after the credits roll, we are introduced to this guy Ames, Jennison Ames, and that's the lead star played by Statham. And the factory that he's working at is completely shutting down. He goes for his last cash fee. They give him a choice between cash or credit, and he takes the cash. Apparently, there's a cash fee. I've never heard of a cash fee in my life, but he doesn't want to take a check because the company's out of business, and he has no idea when he's going to get it. So he has no choice but to take the $300 cash. After working, I think he mentioned 120 hours in 2 weeks, which is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Goes home to his wife. They're kind of in a lower income neighborhood, so you can tell they're struggling, but you can tell that they have like a pretty strong bond, the way they're behaving and stuff like that. Lo and behold, you have a murder of the wife, and he is completely framed. With like, they knock him out and everything. They put blood on his hands. They use a knife or a weapon of some kind, and he's arrested. 6 months later, he's taken to a prison, and this prison is called Terminal Island. So This universe basically takes place where economy has completely shut down, and corporations and especially prison like institutions are being paid by what is it like private corporations, and they basically run prisons for profit essentially. And because everything is so povertish and the economy is shit, there's a lot more people in prison. And what happens in these prisons, especially this one on Terminal Island, which is what the entire story takes place, where the entire story takes place, is that they basically make the prison inmates fight to the death and brutally murder each other on live TV. People get bored of that, so this whole death race idea comes through, and it officially has evolved into this thing called Death Race, where people drive instead of fist fighting to the death. They drive and shoot the shit out of each other to the death. So this guy with the mask that was blown up at the beginning of the movie, we learn his name is Frankenstein, and we learned that he won 4 races so far, and the whole object of this game that's watched on live TV, because it is a game, is that any prisoner to win 5 races gets basically parole, like let go, and is let go of jail pretty much. This Frankenstein guy has won 4, and he got blown up right before he won his 5th. And Statham's character, Ames, that's what they call him, his last name, is offered the position to replace Frankenstein because Frankenstein is basically an image, and he's known for his Frankenstein mask. So since nobody knows what's underneath the mask anyway, it pretty much can be anybody. And Statham, or Ames, I'm going to call him Statham so much probably, because I just know him as Jason Statham in every movie, I mean. So he's given the opportunity to win one more race, and he's out because, well, he's given the opportunity to be Frankenstein, I'm sorry. And then if he wins one more, because Frankenstein already won 4, he's basically free to go. If anybody can't tell yet, this whole death race and prison system is completely corrupt. It's run by this woman named Hennessy, who is offering Ames his freedom if he wins that race. And basically she is in absolute control of everything now. On the race grounds, there's these pads, these circular buttons basically that you can drive over. Once they get lit and they activate the guns on your car or activate napalm and oil and other shit in your car. As long as you drive over the entire thing, which is kind of weird for anybody who's seen the film. This is a spoiler review. How little they look. The car has to basically go over them completely, with all 4 tires on them at the same time on the platform for it to work, right? But it's also being controlled completely by this woman named Hennessy, who's in charge of everything, and she decides who wins and who loses, basically, which nobody wins. The death races themselves are fantastic. I mean, with action-packed car chases and shootouts and deaths, especially in the unrated version. There's this one scene where this guy who calls himself Grim, as in Grim Reaper, his car flips over and he comes out and he's like, "Nobody kills Grim, motherfucker," and then a car spins around and like slams right into him. And it's CGI blood, but he definitely explodes. Like, just blows the fuck everywhere. Another one, this car flips on its side and then gets completely impaled into a trap of like spikes, and sideways gets impaled into the damn thing, where you got like 9 spikes that go right through the entire car. Except the driver. The driver remains alive, so he got missed somehow. And then the thing starts to basically crunch up the car like you would see in some like car dump or something like that, and just crushes Buddy inside while he's still alive. So a lot of brutal stuff going on. Every driver also drives with a lady beside them from the women's prison, and they're basically the guide of them for the race. So they know the track back and forth. They tell the drivers where to go. They help out the drivers with anything they need, such as using napalm and using oil and stuff like that. And everybody drives with a female except for Machine Gun Joe, who's the only character who drives with a guy beside him. And I was wondering that, even because I missed this scene where they explain why. And at the end of the movie, I was like, why is Machine Gun Joe the only one who has a dude beside him all the time? Then I watched this for like a second time or something. I watched this a couple times before making this review just so I caught everything. And there was a scene where they explained why. And they said, oh, he's the only one who drives with a guy, and another dude is like, yeah, because he's gay. And then you have this character not Lists. I was gonna say Lists, who is like, no, actually, it's because he goes through so many drivers that the audience starts to get squeamish. So instead of him going through like 50 women prisoners, he can go through 50 men instead. Because I guess it's, less impactful to the audience if they're seeing male deaths all the time instead of female deaths. But apparently, this guy has a knack for getting his passengers killed, especially when he gets really heated, because there's a scene which I love, which he like literally is just, man, get the fuck out of my car, and he literally just pushes Buddy out of the car at full speed. Very hilarious stuff. Some things, and by some I mean a lot, are done for convenience. I love the way they did a napalm scene where Ames is driving and the car behind him is chasing him at full speed with full weaponry, and he gets the bright idea of putting the napalm into the passenger seat and getting Case to sit on his lap, and then he launches the ejector seat of the napalm up in the air. Now that's done for convenience, obviously, because he would have to know exactly where the napalm is going and time it just right so he knows that the napalm is going onto the car behind him, and the thing hits the ceiling just on the right spot and then comes down as soon as the car's under there. So Case can come out of the roof of the car, I believe, or the side or whatever, wherever, and throw a lighter on the car, lighting it on fire and destroying the thing. Obviously for convenience, but the scene looked awesome. And Case is a badass. She's completely badass. There's a scene where the guns malfunction and she comes right out the window with a wrench to start like whacking the machine guns to make them work again. So she's definitely a sexy badass, 100%. The outfits that she wears are top notch. They bring in the bus with the female prisoners before stage one death race, because there's 3 stages to death race, and the winner after the 3rd stage wins. They bring in the bus of the female prisoners, and every single one of them is a model. So apparently in this universe, every single female that goes to prison looks like a runway model or a swimsuit model or something like that. I guess, swimsuit models in this universe are committing a lot of crimes, and there's no Karens or, what can I say on YouTube that's safe? Tough women, like very strong, masculine acting women that go to jail in this universe. I love when Ames comes to jail and they put him in his prison cell. By the way, Jason Clarke is also in this film. The guy who played John Connor in Terminator Genisys. Like when I can't speak. He's in here. He puts Ames into his prison cell when he first arrives, and there's 3 guys in there, and they start giving him like kisses, and one big guy even is like like a pig. I can't do the sound, but a pig squeal, and they're like, and of course you know exactly what's gonna happen. Well, when the guards run away, you just hear like smack, pow, pow, and like in the background, and then they turn around and come back, and I love how Jason just Ames looks at them and he's just like, they slipped. Beautiful. Love that fucking scene. And the races are fantastic. I love everything about the races. There is a part where they bring in this vehicle, this massive vehicle. Hennessy launches it, I think, in the 2nd race. They call it the Dreadnought. And going back to the Twisted Metal thing, this is a total reminiscence to Minion, because the main car that you had to defeat at the end of every Twisted Metal game was called Minion. So as soon as I saw this thing, I'm like, yeah, there's another Twisted Metal reference with this big giant ass fucking truck that has like 15 people on it controlling machine guns and shit like that. And there is a scene where they pass by a building, and they just on both sides just annihilate with fire on the cars and all that. So, and the flamethrowers are huge. Now the thing is, This thing is beyond badass, but what I'm so disappointed in is they could have done so many things with this huge ass armored vehicle and kept it on screen with for so much longer than they did. I mean, this thing was badass, and we were ready for limitless things that could have been done with this thing, limitless things. And I don't even know if it's on screen for 5 minutes. I think it's less than that. It does some cool shit, but and I like how it's taken out. I like how Statham or Ames and Tyrese Gibson or Machine Gun Joe work together for a little bit and take the thing out on their own by driving both of their cars on top of a attack circle platform thing. So the spikes come up again, the same spikes that killed Buddy earlier. The thing just smacks right into it and does a whole fucking flip in slow motion. It's really cool the way they take it out. But I just wish that thing, because of how insane it looked, spent a little bit more time on screen. So during one of the races, Ames sees another driver, and the driver goes like this to Ames, like this, and he has a flashback to the beginning when his wife got murdered and he got framed, where the killer did that to him, the same thing. So he totally recognizes, which is an idiot from the driver, just totally gave himself away. He noticed that this guy was his wife's killer, but his name is Petrenko. So on the track on race 2, he hunts him down and he goes straight to kill him. And then it's funny because he actually gets his Petrenko's car flipped over, and then he backs right up and just smacks Petrenko with his door, and then comes out of the car as Frankenstein with his mask, so nobody can recognize him. But he's not allowed to do that according to Hennessy. So he gets, Hennessy right after that wants to take him out and just replace him with another guy who's going to be Frankenstein, because Frankenstein is just a mask. I love that concept of this movie, that Frankenstein is just a mask, because that gives room for countless others to be made, which 3 more were, right? I also like how Hennessy, she says at the beginning of the film, or when we're introduced to her, when Ames swears, she's like, language is an issue for me, because she's this very like sophisticated businesswoman, and we'll get back to that at the end of the film, because we all know she's going to swear. There's going to be a point coming where she's just going to start dropping F-bombs everywhere, and it's going to contradict everything she just said at the beginning. But he kills Buddy on the track, Petrenko, so he gets revenge, and he tells him Hennessy's next. And on race 3, they're already starting. Hennessy and her team, Ulrich, played by Jason Clarke, Ulrich, yeah, is his name. They're already starting to suspect that this guy, Ames, is the guy that he said he was, the ex-con and ex-getaway driver, the reason why they brought him into the prison in the first place. They brought him in to replace Frankenstein, and because he was a really good driver and can bring a lot of entertainment to the crowd, but they didn't obviously realize exactly how good he was on the road, which he's a champ. They explain his driving skills, but they never explain why he's so good at fighting, like that jail fight and pretty much any fight he gets into. Back at the steel mill at the work that got shut down, he took on a bunch of SWAT team officers. There's a lunchroom fight that he takes on 3 guys at once. So this guy can fight anyone at any time. He has this amazing fight with Petrenko before he kills him on the track. Back in the shop, has this massive fight with Petrenko about his wife being killed and everything, and they're using wrenches, and Petrenko gets on him with this huge ass freaking wrench, and he obviously gets away. He takes this guy's head and he slams it on this thing that looks like a mini anvil, thing that looks like it's heavy enough to literally slam a person's head open like a watermelon. But of course his head just bounces off the thing, makes the noise and everything. You're just like, oh, you could just hear it. But his head is intact and he just has a little scratch. I think there would be a little bit more damage to that guy. So they're already suspecting Ames, like I said. They attach a bomb to his car just in case. And then this is where Hennessy starts to really play with the platforms on the racetracks so that she can sabotage him and try to give advantage to the other racers. So what happens is that Machine Gun Joe was set on taking out who he found out to be Frankenstein, and he has 2 races to win now, and Frankenstein only has 1 race to win. And you see a lot of tension and beef with them. And obviously, you know that Machine Gun Joe is hell bent on getting rid of Frankenstein, right? But then there's this little twist during race 3, which I liked because they found not a loophole, but a loop wall, you could say, that they could blow up and get off the track and escape this island. There's only one entrance to this island. It's this really long, narrow bridge. And they find out the right location to blow up a portion of the wall so they can get through and get off the track and escape, or attempt to. And I like how there was that twist where they actually started to work together, because after that it really turned into like a Fast and Furious film where you got Ames instead of Vin Diesel, and Tyrese Gibson as Machine Gun Joe instead of Tyrese Gibson from Fast 2, which unfortunately I forget the character's name. I haven't seen Fast 2 in a long time. It's definitely time to rewatch that franchise. But yeah, and then the whole bridge escape is awesome. This is where Hennessy starts to swear like a fucking trucker. Alright, you son of a bitch. Fuck with me, and we'll see who shits the road, or something like that. She drops a bitch, a fuck, and a shit in the same sentence. That made me laugh. So she has the remote to the bomb, and she clicks it, and it doesn't go off because this guy named Coach, who is a master at fixing the cars, basically says, I never miss a thing in any cars. So he has the bomb with him, and he deactivated it. So they're still going down this huge bridge. They got helicopters on them. Before they were put onto the track, Hennessy signed their release papers to kind of give them a little bit of hope that they could potentially make it out, even though she knew there was a bomb underneath the car, so they weren't going anywhere, even in worst case scenario, which we're in. Now Hennessy is in worst case scenario, but with no bomb, so an even worse case scenario. Case uses the ejector seat to basically get... No, she doesn't. She gets in Ames's driving seat, and she starts to drive the car herself, where Statham, instead of using the ejector seat, which makes no sense now that I think about it, he just opens the door and rolls right out of the car. And this is a car that's going like 200 kilometers. I mean, I'm a Canadian guy. I don't know what that would be in miles, but it's going really fucking fast, and you can't just jump out of that moving vehicle at that speed and survive, but he does, instead of using the ejector seat, which would be there. There's no reason why it wouldn't, so just thought of that now. Regardless, she gets away, or no, she doesn't get away, she kind of gets away, but she puts on the Frankenstein mask and pretends to be Frankenstein and gets out of the car and puts her hands up. And because she knows that those papers are already signed, legally they have to release her, you know. And then Ames and Machine Gun Joe both get away, and then it goes to 6 months later again, and we got this beautiful, sweet, beachy sunset, or sunny, hot scene in Mexico, where you got all the survivors, and then here comes Case in her gorgeous car with even more gorgeous shorts and tank top, and slow-mo and hair swinging, and your whole Paul W.S. Anderson thing. And it's a really cool ending to a badass film. I mean, that's the kind of ending you're going to get with a film that's called Death Race, and about fast cars with guns and really hot chicks in it. So, by the way, I forgot to mention that Hennessy got that bomb delivered to her at the end of the film in a little cute package by Coach. And as soon as she gets it, he touches that button. How I know, how he knew when she was going to receive it exactly, and how he got the remote to work, and how he got his hands on the remote in the first place, or maybe he built it. It's not really explained. But as I already said in this review, convenience, right? We're all about convenience. But that's what I got on the original Death Race 2008. I loved it. It's a blast. You know who you are, whether you're going to want to get into a film like this or not. But that's my thoughts on it. Spoiler review, so I hope that people watching have already seen it, unless they completely don't care. But fucking awesome. And great 18A unrated experience. And packed with awesome, awesome kills. I think that's it. That's important anyway. I could talk for like an hour, but I won't. We'll just leave that at that. So, yeah, subscribe to Morgan Film Fan if you like to listen to my voice or if you like my film reviews. And until next Death Race, or until next review, stay tuned, and we will chat later. Take care and cheers.